Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this week's Xbox Factor podcast. I am your host, or one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL. And my goodness, we have a bonus episode of one of my favorite shows to produce. And I'm surrounded with tremendous talent. So let's get right into the introductions so we can start this bad boy off. First up, you know him as the bravest man this side of Texas, someone that has volunteered to play the demo of the next Resident Evil remake, whatever that may be, at Capcom Studios, first-hand knowledge. Please welcome Zemi Games.
Oh, Boom! I super appreciate it, man, and I'm just so happy to be here. I cannot wait to jump into these topics. I mean, a lot of these is well, there's one particular I'm very, very excited about, the opening one. But all this other stuff, you know, it's kind of been out for a little bit now, but we haven't got the chance to talk about it on this show yet. So I can't wait to share my opinions, and just super excited.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, one of the I guess the driving force reasons for adding the additional show is obviously, like I said publicly, I'm trying to, because I'm out of uniform and I don't have the same helping power that I once did, I'm trying to help the community in a way that's fun. Getting out there, you know, obviously the world is the world, and we are all aware of what's going on. And sometimes you kind of just need to kind of kick your feet up, take your mind off stuff, and unwind for a bit, kind of step back from the world and just talk about gaming. And, you know, hopefully this is going to curb a lot of people's anxieties. And hopefully I can help with the escapism that we all need every now and again for 2 hours or 90 minutes or whatever it is, talking about your best brand. And, you know, before we even move any further, I just want to throw this out there that, you know, regardless of what flag you fly, everyone's welcome here. If you're a PlayStation guy or gal, if you love Nintendo, you know, come on down, hang out. Maybe you'll, you know, our words will inspire you to look to Xbox for the next generation. So let's introduce our next panel member. You know him as someone that uses the name, or has been given the name, as a very famous Star Wars character. He's a teacher by day, podcaster by evening. Please welcome Luke. What's going on, dude?
Man, I'm not much is going on, as I am home teleworking like the rest of us, but I'm having a good old time catching up on my backlog, checking out all this news, and goodness gracious, thank you for having me on the show today.
Listen, it's a pleasure. Yeah, a lot of people like what you had to bring to what you brought to the table the last time, so of course had to have you back on. And being obviously that you are home, like most of America right now, it was great to have you on. So I definitely super appreciate you coming on to the show. So let's start with the first topic, and I'm going to bring up a picture. There he is, Master Chief. Now, technically, this isn't necessarily a Halo Infinite that I have some breaking news, but I did pull something an hour before the show started, and I figured it would make very good conversation. It was a blog post posted by Unishek of 343 Industries on the Halo Waypoint website, which I have that link in the show notes if you want to go check it out. And, you know, listen, guys, it's safe to assume that we all are aware that 2020 is shaping up to be the biggest year for the Xbox brand in over a decade. And the weight of the Xbox Series X and S are tremendous on the company, but the pressure on 343 Industries to deliver the best Halo with the new Slipspace engine has to be mounting 10 times that. And, you know, I thought that this would be a great opening topic because right now, you know, everything is in flux, right? You know, there's going to be delays, folks. Do I think that Halo is one of them? No, but I want to read the whole blog post, and then of course I'm going to get the opinion of the panel and the chat, and this is what the blog post is titled: Home Field Advantage. And this is regarding Halo Infinite and, of course, the C-19 situation. And this is what it says. Before we start, I wanted to take some time to address the elephant in the room. C-19 has been dominating the news, and it has worked its way into almost every aspect of our lives. We are not immune to this global pandemic, and we are fully aware of the danger it poses to us as individuals, as a team, and as a larger Seattle community. As the situation began to take a turn for the worse in our area about 2 weeks ago, Microsoft and 343 leadership gave our studios guidance to work from home, seeing as safety is the most important thing during a time like this. We took the advice, and we have been working from home ever since. It has been a vacation, though, as every team is adapting and getting creative to make sure that we can do what we can from the best to our ability from outside of the studio. Both 343 and Microsoft's leadership teams have been providing consistent and constant updates with how to deal with the C-19 situation and how it's progressing, how our projects are progressing, and recommendations on how best to stay safe during these unprecedented times. What does this mean for the MCC PC, which of course is the Master Chief Collection PC, and Halo Infinite? We are removing all obstacles in our path and tracking well, but we need to be mindful of our current limitations and understand that the C situation may get worse before it gets better. Rest assured that every single one of us is doing everything in our power to continue development and deliver quality Halo experiences while we adjust to this new way of life. Beyond all of that, please remember this is bigger than games and bigger than Halo. Practice social distancing whenever possible. Like the blue, and of course he throws a joke in there, like the blue Spartans above who are staying at elephant lengths away from each other. Wash your hands and do your best to keep clean. We are all in this together. So Zemi, I know I want to go to you first on this because obviously this is besides having some some fun towards the end, this is a very serious post in a way where not only is the C-19 situation at the forefront of it, I did not walk away feeling that they were implying a delay. I walked away feeling that they're doing the best they can in a situation that, again, is unprecedented. We have never dealt with anything, at least none of us. I mean, there's been pandemics before, but as gamers and human beings in our current age, we have never dealt with anything. I mean, the only thing I can equate this to is 9/11. And this trumps 9/11 because this is a world issue. This isn't just a continent issue. And obviously, I think everybody wants to believe that Halo Infinite is going to launch on time. I mean, it is still 7 or 8 months before we get a new Xbox, so the potential for I guess the things to shake out, so to speak, are there. We just don't know, how does this hurt the team working from home? You know what I'm saying? Are they going to be coming back to the office in, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days? I don't know. I don't know where they are in development. Are they just cleaning up the product? Right now they just, I guess rounding out the edges. I couldn't tell you. What are your opinions based on the blog post?
Well, I mean, first off, I like to say that I think it's extremely transparent, and I think that definitely garners some points to Xbox, completely with how much they've been tweeting out about this, and even more now with this individual working for 343, giving us an actual update on what this game that so many of us are anticipating, how it's currently being treated, and what they're currently undertaking, with the current climate out there. and second off, I think it's extremely amazing for Xbox to go out of their way to try to protect their teams and get them, home, at their home. Of course, a lot of these developers will, be able to do some work from home, but it's not going to be the same as if they were actually in the studio. But I think it's amazing that Xbox is going and protecting their employees. And I kind of want to mention this as well, just so I don't seem like a huge hypocrite. I think it was a few weeks ago, I said something, a little bit dumb. I kind of disagreed with how Sony was treating the PAX East and trying to protect their employees. So I kind of wanted to take that back, but a lot has changed, in the past few weeks, and we know a lot more about the current situation with the C virus than we did all that time ago. So I just wanted to kind of mention that out. But I think it's an amazingly good thing for any company to try to protect its workers. As far as Halo Infinite is concerned, because I think that's really the big question. I mean, obviously Master Chief Collection for PC is huge for a lot of PC gamers. But we on console have already kind of played that game, right? So I think like the big question is Halo Infinite. Is it going to be pushed back? Is it going, how is that going to work out? And, I think it's safe to say that I think no one really knows at this point, I guess maybe other than Microsoft. And I think that they probably really don't know either, because, this could get a heck of a lot worse than it currently is. It could also get, better. We at this point, there's just no way of knowing for us. Right. But I think it would be if 343, if Xbox needs to push back Halo Infinite, even though they want it to release with the Series X, even if they have to push it back, I think that that's exactly what they need to do. I think the worst thing for Xbox to do is to release a below average product. I think that would be extremely harmful to a lot of the really good work that they've been doing so far in their first party. And I think a lot of us gamers often say this, is that we would rather have a game be pushed back than receive, a crappy game. And I think that that's really what we need to remember here. If they have to push it back, that's unfortunate. It's not what Microsoft wants. It's not what the fans necessarily want. But I would rather them push it back than it not being the game that all of us is, hoping and expecting it to be.
Well, I mean, listen, great points all around, because, obviously this is, again, it's an unprecedented situation that, we have to remember that in order to make a game, you got to be at the studio that has the tools. No one, I don't think anyone from any developer, whether that's 343, whether that's Naughty Dog, whether that's Activision, EA, take your favorite developer and throw them in there. Bethesda, no one saw how bad this thing was going to get. And, in order to do some of the work or most of the work on the game, on the critical parts of a game, you got to be in the studio to do that, which is why we see a lot of like Marvel canceling a lot of their films that are in development, because you can do touch-up work, you can do some camera work from the comfort of your home in regards to stuff, but you can't do that. You still have to film live.
Well, another thing though, too, just to kind of add in, I mean, there are developers that do work from home and they create games, like the people who made 7 Days to Die. Yes. They work from home, and I know that there's a lot of other studios that they just work from home. But I think like the big thing to remember is that a lot of these employees for 343, they just won't have the equipment to do it at their house.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm sure they could transition to everyone being able to do just as much work at home, but how much money would that cost? And then you'd have to have IT people coming inside people's houses and all sorts of things, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It would open up the door to possibly creating another problem that wasn't initially there.
Absolutely,
is what you're saying, and I agree with that. Real quick, before I continue on with the point, I have to thank Aaron JF94 with the outstanding $5 super chat, and says, "Hey, Boom, I tweeted at you about the Silent Hill update. Yeah, dude, you know what? I'm sorry I didn't respond. I'll check it out after the show. I was kind of making sure that everything was ready to go for today's show. Real quick, I want to also ask, as you can see, something's wrong with YouTube. Something is going on with YouTube where they are not pushing out the notifications. For somehow or another, that this has been going on since the weekend. Now, I don't know if this is because of the amount of traffic, because of all the people here, or have they dropped the ball? Has Google dropped the ball? But I was getting messages from people that didn't even know the show was live, and they couldn't even see it, that it was live, which is it's hurtful for small channels like mine. So if you are here and you are a fan of the work, I ask that if you head over to social media, any kind of social media, and just kind of tweet this out. Let people know that we're live. It would be greatly appreciated, because obviously the more people I can help, with this silly show, the better. So if you can do that, it would be greatly appreciated. And of course, if you're enjoying the content, hit the like button. That helps too. And if you hate me and you just tune in to give me the finger, just hit the thumbs down button and be out. That's fine too. I'm not offended. Luke, I want to get your opinion on this because obviously, look, here's the thing. One of the, I suppose, Achilles heel problems with Microsoft this generation has been their first party output. And more so was some of the problems that came along with those first party games. We saw State of Decay launch, have some issues. We saw Sea of Thieves launch, really not technical issues, more so than it was a content issue. Crackdown, we know what happened in the development with that. They lost the tech. They had to completely recreate the tech from scratch. It wasn't what they originally showed. And obviously we can go on. I mean, they've had some home runs. No, there's no doubt about it. But 343 is in a position that I would not want to be in, because we know how fickle the community can be. We also know how judgmental the gaming community is. Of course, the gaming media is, and to think that this game is not only a flagship title to the Xbox Series X, it is a flagship title to the actual brand. Like when you say Xbox, most people will equate that with Master Chief. So this has to be a home run. And I don't think that even though with the current world situation being what it is, would anyone excuse 343 for putting out an improper product. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the blog post? But more importantly, would you be, I guess, devastated if you found out that there was going to be a delay on this game?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in all of that. I would be very sad if I heard that the game was delayed. That said, how do you say that you're devastated in a world where COVID or where the C virus is going on? So I recognize that. It'd be hard to adjust it. Now, whatever 343 is doing, they are correct in recognizing that they are under tremendous pressure for any number of reasons that have nothing to do with the C virus. They are under pressure because Halo has disappointed in its past two iterations, either for one way or another. And I've adored both of them, but it's not strange to acknowledge that there were aspects of each game that failed communities throughout, and the mind share is certainly weaker. When you look at what Microsoft needs to do with its IP, they've got solid IP in State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, etc. But those are not meant to be tent poles. Those are not meant to be the flagship IPs, and they do need to nail it, particularly because they are launching new hardware. So I am concerned about it being delayed. I am trying to temper that with recognizing that this is an unprecedented situation, and it is all the more difficult because of that. But I think in order for the Xbox Series X to launch at its best and launch in the most polar opposite way of the Xbox One, they do need a flagship title that is showcasing the Slipspace engine, showcasing the technology, and demonstrating that Halo is a still relevant franchise to the masses and not just to the niche gamers or to the fans that already exist of Halo. They need to bring more people in. So I do not envy the pressure that they are under. I recognize there are extenuating circumstances, but here's hoping that whatever goes on, they're able to give us the best game that they possibly can. And if that means a few weeks, a few months delay, better that than tarnishing Halo's reputation in any way, shape, or form, because right now it's due for a strong comeback, and it looks to be having just that. There's no reason to sacrifice or expend any of your last goodwill with that franchise. And I should go on record and say that I love Halo. I read all the novels. I read all the comic books. Their extended lore is incredible. That franchise is quite healthy, but it's not expanding its users and players. And that's what they need to continue to think about as they build to bring a product to us.
Well, look, I mean, the bottom line is this is scheduled to be only the second Halo title ever to launch with a console. I think that I'm going to be honest. I'm going to sit here and say that I think there's a better chance that the Xbox Series X launches with no problem. I want to say that I'm like 70% ish confident that this is going to be a launch title. There still is that 25 to 30% of me that's a little worried, that has some concern based on the blog post, because the blog post is basically telling you to temper expectations because of the current world situation. I don't think Halo is going to be the only game. Hypothetically, if it is delayed, again, hypothetically, it is certainly in no way, shape, or form going to be the only one. I think that outside of stuff that has already been confirmed as being gold, there may be a significant amount of delays. As a matter of fact, when you look at the overall big picture, if you will, of what 2020 was supposed to be in regards to gaming, it was, again, this is just my personal opinion. I thought that this might have been one of the biggest gaming years since, of course, 2007, going back to the Xbox 360 and PS3, days, where it was just an onslaught of unbelievable titles. I really thought that we were going to get that for 2020, and now that I think about it, I know, Zemi, I'm going to break your heart here. I would not be surprised if Cyberpunk is delayed.
But here's the thing, right? Like, I'm okay with that, because at the end of the day, that means I'm going to get an even better game than if they would have released it whenever it wasn't ready, right? So I'm perfectly fine with games getting delayed. Is it upsetting? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I'm going to receive a better product for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, I don't have the actual quote from Miyamoto of Nintendo, but he, I can paraphrase it. He said, you can ship, if you ship a bad game, it's always going to be a bad game. You ship a delayed game, it could potentially be the better game. And I know that's completely not what he said, but it's in that vein. Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, the one thing that I think the one thing out of this whole blog post, and when you talk about Halo Infinite, is that it cannot ship broken. It absolutely cannot ship with bugs. It can't ship broken. Everything has to work. And I'm talking about single player, multiplayer. It's got to work like back in the days when you popped a cartridge into your pick your favorite system, and it just worked. It just played.
And boom, that's the point that is so key here. Microsoft has done a good job this generation at repairing its games. They've gone back in and remastered State of Decay and Sea of Thieves. They went back in on a 5-year project and are continuing to fix and elaborate on the features of Master Chief Collection, and that is to be commended. But you are absolutely right. They cannot ship this game broken. They cannot put it out and it have those failings, because all that goodwill that they've been rebuilding over the last few years since the Spencer era
collapsing on itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and another thing though too is we all have to remember, reviewers are not going to review the same game twice. Most of them won't. Like, there are some exceptions, but most of the time IGN's going to give them that one review.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, I have complete faith in 343. I have complete faith in Microsoft that this is not only. Listen, I'll put it this way, and maybe I'm overreaching here because I'm being blinded by the fact that I love Master Chief as a character. I love the lore. I don't think that they would guarantee, pre C19 as Halo being a launch title if they weren't confident in the slipspace engine, where Master Chief is going, and where the franchise is being taken under this new ideology of, a more open world, Halo, where it's not just going to be your typical corridor Master Chief shooting a bunch of Covenant. It's going to be, again, I'm not saying it should be this, so please don't boo me yet. But as much as I don't want it to be Destiny, I kind of want it to be Destiny a little bit to some extent. No, it's okay. It's fine.
Oh, boom. Can I tell you this? You know what would be dope? Is if they had a main campaign, standard Halo affair, and then you utilized fire teams, and you went out and had that Destiny experience on the side. So that way you're not sacrificing anything.
Great point, Luke.
That's what I would love to see.
Point because, yeah, I mean, listen, if what I love about, and I know I'm going to take this in a little bit of a different direction. What I loved about Gears 5 was the main story was what you would expect in the Gears franchise, right? But it told a very emotional story that really built on the characters that a lot of people didn't care for, the newer characters in the original, you know, in 4, you know. It told a story with Kate that was unexpected. It had a lot of twists and turns to it. A big decision at the end that broke many people's wills and hearts. But on top of that incredible single player experience, where you were told this amazing story and you're looking to the future with all the different ways that they allowed you to expand your play with the open world aspects and the side mission aspects and the hidden weapons that you could find. There was a robust and very, very stout multiplayer that basically did something for everyone. If you loved hero characters, well, guess what? You can play as 2 people from freaking Halo or the Terminator, right? And I'm hoping that they continue to expand on guest characters. You had the new 3-player escape mode, where it was you know, your backs are to the wall and you're running from the mist that you're trying to kill all the all the swarm. And then, of course, you had your standard, up the ante multiplayer. So there was something there for everyone. What I'm hoping Halo brings to the table, because of the power of the Azure servers, because of what the power of the box, I'm hoping for the same ideology when it comes to the multiplayer. And what you talked about, a 3-man, a fire team, 3-person Destiny-esque kind of a thing would be effing amazing. I mean, you should be working for marketing, because I would sign that check right now. And then you can get your standard Warzone, which is, they really up the ante, so to speak, for in Halo 5. Halo 5 single player, not so much. Multiplayer, fantastic. And I would like to see them expand on big team battle. When I say big team, I right now on the free Warzone for Call of Duty, it's 200 players or 150 players. I'm sorry. Wouldn't you guys want to be involved in a 75 versus 75 kind of a Halo game? Holy shit.
You know what I think would be cool is if they did do that, but if they made the majority of players like actual like Marines, and then like for like the Covenant, you had people playing as Jackals and people playing as like Grunts, and people playing as like elites and stuff like that. I think that would be really, really cool. I will say that.
Yeah, Other Zinc apparently thinks otherwise. He says this in the chat. He's very opinionated, and of course that's welcomed on this channel. I hope no one at Microsoft is listening to any of these suggestions. Listen, Other Zinc, here's the thing, brother. I love that you come to the show. Appreciate that you're so animated and you're very vocal. But dude, I gotta tell you, Halo's old as shit. Okay, and because it's old doesn't make it's bad. But you have to bring some new stuff to the table. We're gonna have an amazing Master Chief campaign. You're gonna get your corridor-based shooting. You're gonna get that claustrophobic, I'm in a small hallway fighting a bunch of big baddies. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get your open world where you're driving the tank, where you're driving a warthog, where you're flying around. You're gonna get all of that. But at the end of the day, dude, if you want the people to come back, you got to innovate. You got to bring new things to the table. Just because it's new doesn't make it a bad thing. I'm just saying.
Well, just to add in there as well, is like I'm perfectly okay with them changing things and adding new features and stuff like that. But the only thing I don't want to happen, because we see this in a lot of different games, right? We see like certain games copying other games. Like I remember back in the day, Rainbow Six has always been one of my favorite games, but Rainbow Six Vegas 2, I really did not like it as much because they copied a lot of the aspects that Call of Duty had been doing, because they were such a successful game series, popping up numbers whenever you shot at people and all just all sorts of things that made the game not feel like Rainbow Six. So like I'm perfectly happy with them adding in like a Destiny-esque gameplay mode or something like that. But I want it to be so creative and not follow all the beats of what Destiny does. I want people to play it and be like, oh man, this is such an amazing new thing, not even recognizing or realizing that they pretty much copied Destiny. Does that make any sense? Like I want
I see what you're saying. Yes,
organic and original and still close to like Halo lore and the universe.
Zemi nails it though. Zemi nails it. Like and there's a really comfortable versatility in that we've seen tons of AAA franchises try something, it not work out, and they're able to revert or change their game plan. We didn't have Call of Duty Warzone until what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they're still learning that game. And they changed around all of Modern Warfare's methods and improved upon Blackout. And if Halo wants to take in ideas from other places, I think that's a great thing. If it doesn't work out or the community doesn't respond, that's a great thing too. We've seen the Gears community changing and adjusting what it is they want, and they're trialing and erroring until they get it right. Same with a number of pillar franchises for a lot of different first party and third party publishers. So if it doesn't work from the Destiny perspective or something different, keep iterating, keep trying, because as you said, we don't want Halo to be the old franchise that remains old. Stagnation leads to complacency, and that leads to being forgotten, and we don't want that to happen to Halo.
That's well, listen, you guys really completely knocked it out of the park. I mean, what else can you say? Like I said, I know that there are a lot of people that don't want change. I would absolutely highly disagree with that. I think we should get Halo. I think we should get an amazing Master Chief campaign. There are rumors that we're going to get a Locke campaign, which I think is dope, because Locke is a main guy, not so much as a separate campaign. I think is dope. I think there was another Spartan a separate campaign, total of 3 campaigns, which sounds amazing to me. Plus whatever we're going to get in multiplayer and whatever they're going to be adding to expand the story is going to be amazing. But I want to move on to the next topic. Let me bring up the banner for it. Obviously, one of the things that we saw very early on when it came to the Xbox Series X, we got a chance to take a look at the controller, what exactly it looked like, and I'm very excited for a lot of reasons. So I'm going to bring up some pictures of the controller I was able to find, some real up close and personal pictures that we get a chance to take a look at it. And obviously, with the new console releasing this year, the redesign of, in my opinion, the world's best controller has been confirmed by Xbox. And the Xbox Series X controller features some really interesting things that a lot of people are going to be happy with. First of all, the USB-C port for faster charging is going to be a big addition, as well as, of course, the confirmation of the use of AA batteries. Now, a lot of people, for some reason, don't like rechargeables. They want to slap those 2 AA batteries in there and go. Where I've gotten really used to, I've always had rechargeable battery packs. And I really like the Elite Series 2, where the battery is built in. Some people don't like that because if the battery goes bad, I guess you're shit out of luck. But whatever. But the redesigned gamepad focuses on defining our ergonomics, including a further streamlined design, coupled with a new functionality over the existing Xbox One controller. And I pulled a lot of this from the Austin Evans video that I watched numerous times, which was fantastic. And the controller is slightly smaller designed to better fit all types of hands, which, I have big mitts, so it doesn't matter to me. I mean, like even the Duke, as big as that controller is, and that controller is ridiculous. You can kill somebody with that. It fits in my hands just fine, but I have like giant monopolas, so it's perfectly understandable that they fit fine in my hands. But one of the things I thought was really interesting is the redesigned gamepad. The directional. It's definitely designed after what they did with the Elite. And I thought that I called it I should have said just the D-pad. The D-pad looks like it's going to be. It has a new useful design to make better use of on a range of titles. And this was obviously from what the article had to say was apparently inspired by the Elite controller D-pad, which I mean, again, I have 3 Elites and they're all awesome. I like the way that first of all, I like the fact that you can change it, but I also like the way that even if you were playing a fighting game, it's not like the old controllers. Just the regular crosses to me was always very limiting, to say the least. But this is where I kind of want to get excited. All right, and the gamepad is going to be great, right? The controller is going to be what we expect in an Xbox controller. But the one amazing new entry for me that has me unbelievably stoked is the share button. And now, and again, to be completely fair, I want this to put it out there before I get booed and people say, just a second, boom, someone else did it first. I hear you. Both the Nintendo Switch and the PS4 have been doing this since the launch of the console. And I thought it was extremely forward-thinking then, and I absolutely love the ability to simply press one button, takes a picture, or you can take video by holding the button down on the DualShock 4, and it starts recording. It's a very, very simple thing. Like, I understand that people are like, well, boom, you hit the guide button and you hit Y, or you hit the other button and you just go. I'm not saying that it's the hardest thing since Bedrock. I'm saying that it's a bit of a pain in the ass trying to get things done. And I have to ask. I'm going to ask of course, the chat, but I'm going to ask my panel. Zemi, for this is really for you, being content creators, and of course, Luke, you as well. It's, for me, I'm always taking pictures, especially when I'm playing like a lot of the Sony games. I've been taking a ton of Doom shots that, to be quite honest with you, after I took them and I posted them, I was like, did that actually come from my console? Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As content creators, and Luke, you're involved in this because you have an amazing, you're not really working on YouTube so much as you are doing the podcasting through your different avenues, and we're going to talk about that towards the end of the show because I kind of want to move some traffic to you. I think what you put on is amazing. I think you got to get more eyes on, or ears. Don't lend me your ears, okay? Don't do that. But we pulled the Mark Cerny. Don't lend me your ears. But I want to move some traffic towards you because I think what you do is a great job. But
thank you.
When we post content, for me anyway, I don't mind finding a picture on Twitter, right? I don't mind using a picture I find on Twitter. I do it all the time. I don't mind going to the interwebs and typing in pictures of Master Chief and finding a picture that someone posted. I don't mind doing that because I'll give credit where credit is due. But I do like putting my own stuff up there. So if it ever comes into question, hey, boom, I saw you post a picture of you chainsawing someone. Did you steal that from somebody? No, I took the picture myself. And I like the ability to be able to take as many pictures as I want, send them where I want, and use my own work. So I'll start with you, Zemi. Again, the redesigned controller, where it's going to be just a tad smaller.
Yep.
Doing it to fit into a younger generation's hands. And I think that's, again, forward thinking by the design team at Redmond. But for more important, does the share button mean to you as much as it means to me?
Probably not. It's probably doesn't mean that much. And let me be honest, like, I'm perfectly happy with the Xbox controller right now. I was perfectly happy with the 360 controller. I'm easy to get along with. I'm not, it serves its purpose. It does what I want it to do, right? I whenever I pull the trigger button, it shoots the person, right? So I'm perfectly happy. So with all of this news, I mean, I am excited, right? I'm not taken away from any of this, but all of this is pretty much just upgrades and icing on the cake for me, right? Okay. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with the Xbox One controller. But as far as the share button, I really don't use the share button as often as I probably should. I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, and I don't know. It's not really a necessity to me. Like, back in the day, whenever I first started doing YouTube, I used to use the share button all the time because I didn't have, a capture card and the equipment that I have now. Right. But I know that a lot of gamers, they love sharing their clips and their content. And, I get, I get messages all the time from my friends like, hey, check out this, video, check out this video, blah, 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 right? So I know tons of people love the button or love the ability, and to add a button on there, I think makes sense. And, it should have been added this generation probably, right? The D-pad, I've never had any issues with D-pads before. I'm always able to select exactly what I want. But them upgrading it to, to the, I guess the more accurate elite version of the D-pad, I think is cool. Them making it a smaller design, I'm okay with that so long as they don't make it too small, because the PlayStation 3 controller, I mean, that thing was pretty hard for me to it wasn't hard at all for me to wrap my hands around, I guess. It was a little too small for me. One of the biggest things, I've actually mentioned this on one of your podcasts before, is the batteries, right? And I think it's amazing that they're giving consumers the ability to use their Duracells and, their Energizers if they want. But, for me personally, it kind of upsets me. Like, I really wish that Xbox would kind of go with the internal battery, very similar to what PlayStation has done. But with that being said, I'm okay with them giving players the choice. But what I really hope to see this next generation is whenever my controller dies or gets broken or whatever, and I go to the store just to buy a controller, I hope that there is one of the rechargeable batteries actually inside the box with the controller, and I don't have to spend extra money for a completely new, charge and play kit. It just bothers me, right? But if I had to say one thing that really, really has me excited about the new controller, and it's not necessarily just the controller, but the software update to lower like the input latency on these controllers, I think that is very, very exciting. And I think that that's going to have a huge impact for a lot of gamers just right out the box seeing that. Plus that software update, I believe I heard that, I believe that Digital Foundry also said that that software update will be, usable on your current Xbox One controllers as well. So I think that is going to be a huge, huge game changer, is, lowering the input lag. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm excited about all this new stuff. Some of it a little bit more than I'm excited that they're doing it. But I'm sure the controller is going to be fantastic. I'm sure I'm going to love it just like I've loved all the previous other controllers.
Yeah, real quick, I just have to shout out Spider-Man with the outstanding $2 super chat, and he says this: YouTube sucks. No alerts. The show doesn't even show up live. Yes, I know it's a real bad problem that's going on since. Listen, folks, I'm limited, right? Like I don't even have 4,000 subs, right? So I don't think they give a shit about Mr. Boomstick XL. I am not the only one this is happening to. This has been going on, from what I understand, since Saturday. I would imagine that it's the influx of traffic, but all I can ask is that you keep tweeting at YouTube. I mean, as much as they very quick to take your 30%, and because I don't have a so-called quote unquote handler that I can email or even call, I'm shit out of luck right now. So I mean, obviously, it's going to hurt the channel and me trying to reach more people. So no one even knows I'm live. But we have 108 people here. Normally by this time we have 300-400 people, because it's a positive brand show where we talk about Xbox, and people aren't getting the notifications. I don't even know what else to do. I don't know who to contact. I have again, this is a small channel, so if you're pissed off like I am, I'm gonna keep tweeting at Google and YouTube until they address it. And it's frustrating that we don't have someone we can call. There's no customer service. So, again, if you want to help me out, and it would be greatly appreciated, tweet this out there, let people know we're live, and tweet at YouTube and tell them you suck. Well, don't actually do that because they won't answer, but say, listen, I can't get the information on my favorite podcaster, and it's not can't be. I mean, this is going to be happening to everyone. This is a big problem across the board. This isn't they're trying to put the screws to Mr. Boomstick XL, because obviously I wouldn't know why, because I'm always, it's always unicorn and rainbows all day long with me, so I wouldn't know why, to be honest. But let's get back to gaming. Let's get back to talking about this new controller. Now, Luke, before I get to you, I kind of want to just read where I got the article from, because I'm always about giving credit. right? Obviously, if I pull an article, I feel it's necessary to kind of give the person credit. Now, I pulled this article from Windows Central, and I enjoy going there, obviously, because I know Jez Gordon, and I do, I have met him in person, and I do like his work. This particular article, though, was written by Matt Brown, who I like his work. He's a good writer. He was talking about Microsoft recently unveiling the full Xbox Series X specifications, and Redmond has provided some additional context surrounding the accompanying controller. And obviously, we talked about the USB-C connectivity to replace the top-facing micro USB port. I think that's big. Adopting a modern standard primed for the growth with the and they're doing this so it would be easier to use while playing or using Project X Cloud. So again, it's that forward thinking that I love about Microsoft and the direction they're going. But the new Xbox Series X gamepad also retains the external batteries requiring AA cells. Now this is, I'm going to be honest with you, Zemi, I'm right there with you. I would rather have an internal battery, but people really like their AA batteries. Like, this is a big hot topic.
I don't understand that, though.
I don't understand it either.
Like whenever we didn't even have the internal batteries, right? I used to hear so many people complaining about having to go and get new batteries and all this different stuff. And now, like, we have people supporting that. I don't get it.
I don't get it. But you know what? What's interesting, and what I thought was, for me anyway, Luke, is a little bit thought-provoking, is the new controller will be smaller than the current Xbox One revision. And the reason why they did that is it's to accommodate a broader group of players. And this was the statement directly from Redmond. It says, by accommodating hands smaller to those of an average 8-year-old, we found we could improve accessibility and comfort for hundreds of millions of more people without negatively affecting the experience for those with larger hands. And this comes from Ryan Whitaker. He is the senior designer at Xbox. And he says this: we did that by rounding the bumpers, slightly reducing and rounding parts around the triggers, and carefully sculpting the grips. Now, Matt Brown finishes the article with some new information and context from Microsoft. The new textured triggers, as you can see on the screen, and the bumpers headed to the Xbox Series X they were first tested in the initial console reveal. And what Microsoft describes as a tactical dot pattern, it follows several limited edition controllers that they experimented it with, and apparently it went really well. So, Luke, I know that a lot of us take the controller for granted, right? Like, no one really even thinks about it. As a matter of fact, I think Zemi, we were talking before you jumped on, he was happy to talk about this because this is a topic that no one is talking about in their show. And of course, being that this is an extra episode of the Xbox Factor podcast, I figured we would cover something that most people aren't talking about. Some people actually might find interesting. I know that it isn't the hottest topic of the week when you're talking controllers, but for you personally, are you liking what they're doing with the new controller?
Absolutely. And it may not be the hottest topic, the sexiest thing to discuss, but I think it's going to have a much longer reach impact on Xbox as a brand going forward for a long time. When you look at the physical setup of it, the idea that they're accounting for smaller hands for younger gamers is a very good thing. Older gamers, theoretically, perhaps with more disposable income, could invest in an Elite or whatnot. But this controller itself looks to refine a lot of what the 360 and Xbox One controllers got right. And even very quietly throughout the Xbox One generation, we saw subtle controller upgrades. If you pick up a day one edition controller to one that you might go purchase right now, you can feel differences in it. It's even subtly redesigned in terms of ergonomics. So I really dig that. The tactile dot pattern, I love that. I currently, one of the controllers I use in my rotation is a Gears of War 5 controller, and it has something very similar. I really enjoy the subtle kick-ups that they're doing with each redesign and refinement of it. Make no mistake, though, to anybody, and I may anger a few, but make no mistake, that share button makes a huge difference. There are simple facts of numbers that PlayStation 4 sold over 100 million units, whereas Xbox One came nowhere near it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a one-button click to say PS4 share. That is viral and guerrilla marketing for your content creators and just general consumers alike. Nintendo did the same thing, and it seemed to work out very well for the Switch. Now, those are one factor among many why they were successful, but now that's another weapon in Xbox's arsenal going into this next gen, because I, like you, I thoroughly enjoy sharing and looking at video and pictures that I pull up, whether I put it out on Twitter or not. Sometimes I just like opening the Xbox app and looking at my moments with my buddies, because they make me happy. Like, really, gaming is supposed to make us happy. And I love seeing that plunder win I get with my friends, or that cool headshot that I made, or that moment in Doom where I just really took out that demon because I'm on easy mode, and that's how I like to play. But I like that. And the ability to review and look over our content is great. And a one-button click is great for next gen. And I think the other, it's not a secret weapon, but something that is just wonderful to see, is that I don't need to upscale my controller right now. I don't need to be upsold. The stuff I have works right now, and I can take my time in getting into next gen, because that is a worry for me as I go in. We don't know how expensive the systems are. I know I'm investing in a Series X. It looks like it could be $600, even if that is a cursed number. It looks like it could be an expensive piece of premium hardware. And now I don't have to upgrade everything. I can get my controller in the box. I don't have to get rid of my Gears controller. I don't have to retire my old stuff. So I think that's a big benefit, is that everything that we have now will work going forward, and we can upgrade over time. So the long-winded answer to your question is, I love what I'm seeing on all fronts in terms of controller and interface. And I hope it does continue. And I hope, or it seems rather, they're learning a lot of lessons from their standard controllers and their elites moving forward.
I am going to say this, that tactile design, I think, is dope.
Yes, it certainly is.
Especially on the triggers, is how many? I mean, listen, again, I don't know how people, my hands don't sweat. I know some people have that problem, but how many times have you been aiming and you kind of look away, or the controller moves and you slip off of these will almost guarantee that's not going to happen. Real quick, a very good friend of the show, Sir X-Man, drops an outstanding and extremely generous $10 super chat and says this: I don't like my battery in the Elite controller too. When the battery dies, I don't feel like the fact that I have to go out and spend almost $200 for a new controller. It's just like the new phones out here today. Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. I agree that if this battery dies after 3 years, that is going to definitely suck. But from what we've heard, these batteries have an extendable lifespan. So the chance that that's going to happen are probably slim. But I do agree with not being able to change the battery yourself unless you take the controller apart, and I am not doing that.
Plus, the warranty is really good with those Elite controllers.
They really are. Yeah, they absolutely are. As a matter of fact, I had one. I have the Gears Elite, which is I use that sparingly because I don't want it to break. Very rare. I have the white Elite, and of course I have the Elite 2.0 that Mrs. Boomster got me for Christmas. And the Elite one, the right bumper button popped out. And I called them up and I'm like, hey, listen, I got this about a year ago, and I sent it back to them and sent me a brand new one. So that was pretty good. So they are pretty good like that. But but before we move on to the next topic, is anybody want to add anything regarding the controller? Your likes, your dislikes, your excitement. What do you want to see with this?
No, I pretty much said all I
Excellent.
have to.
Okay, so let's.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we really nailed it.
All right, so let's move on to, of course, the next topic. I'm going to bring that up right now. Okay. Which one are we going to let's see. Let's go to a topic that no one is talking about, and we're going to talk about the Project Acoustics right now. Let me see if I can find that story. Let me pull this up over here, because then we're going to go into the memory card, which a lot of people have questions about, and I'm interested to get the panel's opinion on this. Now, as Xbox gamers, we are, in my opinion, have been treated to the excellence in sound design and quality when you talk about Dolby Atmos. And that was made available on the Xbox One X. And in current generation, gaming headsets have become, in my opinion, and I don't know if the chat will agree or the panel will agree, as important as the controller you hold in your hand, especially if you want to be enveloped into your game. Now, with that said, Microsoft's Xbox Series X is boasting some serious advantages regarding what you'll be treated to once you unbox your new XSX this fall. And in an article that I, of course, pulled from Windows Central, written by Asher Madan, I'm sorry, regarding the Xbox Series X Project Acoustics, audio ray tracing has been revealed, and what we now know a lot more about what's going to be coming into this new console, and sound design is at the forefront, which I think is amazing. Microsoft's audio ray tracing solution called Project Acoustics, and it actually sounds very impressive to me. And here's a direct quote from Microsoft's website regarding the new way that sound is being promoted on the new console, and says this: Project Acoustics is a wave of acoustic engines for 3D interactive experiences. It models wave effects like obstruction, portaling, reverberation effects in complex scenes without requiring manual zone markup or CPU-intensive ray tracing. It also includes game engine and audio middleware integration. Project Acoustics' philosophy is similar to static lighting, bake detailed physics offline to provide a physical baseline, to use a lightweight runtime with expressive design controls to meet your artistic goals for the acoustics of the virtual world. Now, here's the thing, folks. Let me just say this right now. I'm reading verbatim because that was a lot to take in. And I understand this. The games that you play on this console are basically going to steal your ears. Hopefully it's not Mark Cerny stealing your ears. But let me continue with what he said in regarding the acoustic simulation. It captures the effects using a wave-based simulation. The acoustics are more predictable, accurate, and seamless. Project Acoustics' key innovation is to couple real sound wave-based acoustic simulation with traditional sound design concepts. It translates simulation results into traditional audio DSP parameters for occultation, portaling, and reverberation. The designer uses controls over this translation process. Okay, so here's the thing. We know that thanks to Ninja Theory, that the audio is a separate chip. I know that there was a big hubbub about how it was somehow going to steal teraflops power and really make the console a 9.6 teraflop machine, which again is so ridiculous and so boring already with this console war shenanigans, especially when you're talking about the PlayStation 5. Folks, listen, here's the thing. You're in the chat and you're a PlayStation gamer, guess what? You're getting a great system. But your system isn't as powerful as the Xbox Series X, and that's the end of the story. No one's trying to play console war here. No one's poking fun at you. I'm getting a PS5 day one. I cannot wait to reserve it and pay for the effing thing already. But the bottom line is that the consoles that we have in front of us, based on what we know, the Xbox Series X is a better built box in every way, shape, or form. Now, if that offends people, well, you know what? I have a Kleenex for you. I don't know what to tell you. Don't yell at me. Yell at Sony. Tell them you're disappointed in what they did. And to be honest with you, and not take this in another direction, they seemed a little bit unprepared for the next generation, but that's just my opinion. So, Luke, I want to go to you next, dude. I want to go to you first, I should say.
Sure.
There is a lot to unpack here because, quite frankly, there is a bunch of sound design that I'm not a tech dude, if you will. I'm more of a plug and play, and I understand what they're saying, but I wouldn't be able to tell you, an audio DSP parameter from an occultation or portaling. You know what I'm saying? I'm just reading verbatim. But to be honest, based on the article that I have read, based on what we've heard from Digital Foundry and of course Austin Evans, the sound is not going to be just an add-on for this console. It's going to be one of the cogs that make this a better box all around. Are you excited to know more about Project Acoustics?
Well, if you'd asked me that two to 3 years ago, I would have given you a flat no and been like, I don't know, turn it louder if you want to hear more, whatever.
That's
but
great.
In the past 2 to 3 years, I've had the opportunity, thanks to FanFest, oddly enough, and to SteelSeries, because they sent me one of their Arctis 9Xs, and then FanFest gave us this wonderful rig headset that allowed me to
the Rig 800s. Those are great.
Yes, those are the ones I currently stream with and work with quite often. And since experiencing those two headsets and the incredible audio design on a 1X, it has opened my eyes, metaphorically. I should open my ears to the reality of how important sound design can be in a game, beyond that of just horror games, to a number of different types of genres and what it can mean. Even with playing Ori this past 2 weeks, and just
crazy good.
Jumping out, battling a giant creature, and then just walking along on a log, you'll hear the wood creaking and cracking, and it matters. It really matters. I love to hear that our friends in Blue are having an efficiency-based design in their PlayStation 5 to give them great audio. I'm even more excited that we in Green are going to have a chip dedicated to acoustics and to sound design, and I'm really excited to see where they take this and what it means for our gaming, because it opened up a new world for me very recently. It was more than just better graphics with the 1X. And so to recognize and appreciate that people much smarter than me are interested in demonstrating what sound can do for our experiences, I'm all the more intrigued and excited. I'm curious what it does beyond gaming, more for interactive experiences. You know, if my Xbox Series X is able to handle acoustic design in such a way, does that change my movie watching experiences, my shows, virtual interactions? And I would imagine that virtual field trips are going to become a thing in the near future. Will sound design impact that and allow me to explore more? So I have so many questions, and at the same time, I'm ecstatically excited for something I did not think I would be.
I mean, that's a great point. I mean, look, obviously, like I was saying in the opening, the further we get into next generation, the more interactive gaming is going to be. And with being more interactive, especially, and here's the thing, when you look at the direction Microsoft is taking the company, 5 years ago, we would not have had the dedication that they have to telling incredible single player stories. We know Microsoft is very multiplayer focused, and that's great. Having the ability to play with your friends or your frenemies, if you will, is amazing. One of the things that I'm very happy to talk about is them moving forward with games like the so-called rumored, quote unquote, Fable. I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of a multiplayer element. Now, whether that's co-op, whether that's some sort of a multiplayer versus kind of a thing, which would be very interesting. They are telling more single player, story-driven, adult-themed stories. And when I play those types of games, especially when you're talking about the PlayStation brand, I enjoy wearing headphones because I get to hear. I really get myself involved in the character I'm playing and really get involved in the story. A perfect example of how audio is going to make a difference is Hellblade 1. If you played that game without headphones, you missed out on an entire game. Like if you did not play that game wearing headphones, you could not equate the mental illness that she has to your own understanding because you heard the voices in her head. It gives me goosebumps to even talk about it because it's such a different game once you're wearing the headphones.
Can I add to that, Boom, if you don't mind?
By all means.
So I have my own mental troubles, I suppose, and it's in a time of C-virus, you have to wonder, like, okay, how important is it to share this information? But I identified a lot with what Senua felt because of sound design in a really wonderful way. And I frequently, again, for those of us in green, we really probably enjoy this moment, but I often, with my high-powered headsets now on my 1X, because it can handle that type of power, I go back and I watch the trailer for Senua's Saga quite a bit, because that is one of the best trailers ever. That reaction that the crowd gave at the Game Awards.
It's great. Does it give you goosebumps, dude? It does me.
It does. And I'll watch it on my 4K with my Xbox One X with that level of sound design. And it is more than just goosebumps. It's a feeling in my spine watching Senua's reactions and the facial animations and the tease of what an Xbox One X might do this early on. And then, that game's early in development, but if they could do that now, what that means for later, to anyone in the chat, if you have a 1X and a good headset, go watch that particular trailer as a tease for what may come later. And it's a powerful experience, Boom.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree. And I would, two things I would suggest. I'm not saying you should run out and spend $300 on a headset, because some of the really high end ones, they're super expensive. Though the one that I did get from FanFest, and you went last year, man. I wish I would have known you before so we could have actually met in real life. Would have been great,
my friend. Exact same.
The Rig 800s are fantastic. They are comfortable on your head, and the sound is just. It's there, man. It's a good product. I got it for free because it came, if you got lucky enough to get into FanFest, and I did, thanks to Frederick Jackson, who's happened to be just a fan of the show. He made me his +1, which is, I'm always going to be in debt for that. And I was able to experience FanFest, and thank goodness I did, because who knows if we're ever going to get one again. Hopefully we will. But we will again.
We will again. There's no way that Aaron and that team will give up on us as fans. It's just a matter of time. We have to be patient.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, if not sure if you listened to me or not. Chris was on the show. We had the Xbox FanFest on. That FanFest guy on this show in the middle of 2019. And guess what? Just I throw this out there. I recently talked with Chris. He will be making a repeat appearance.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. I'm going to have Chris on. I'm obviously right now it's everything's in flux. But hopefully once things kind of normalize, I'm definitely going to have Chris back on. Yeah, he was great to talk to. I interviewed him with the Welsh Gamer. This is before Zemi was a part of the show. And talking with Chris was amazing. So many really cool stories about FanFest. And we're going to kind of revisit that when he makes another guest appearance. I am working on something. I'm working on something so big right now, and I'm not going to say what it is because we are literally taking baby steps. It will define my career as a YouTuber if this happens. Let me just say that. So fingers crossed that what I'm working on, which I cannot disclose right now, actually transpires. I'll be talking about that later on in the year. But real quick, I have to thank a good friend of the show, Pixelbit G. Drops an outstanding and very generous $5 super chat and says this: the share button is overdue. I agree and I concur. But MS better have a photo mode in all of its first-party games. And dude, I gotta be honest with you, a gavel slap down. I agree 1,000%. I love that about the Sony games. Most of them have a very robust photo mode that you can take unbelievable shots. I would love to see that baked into Microsoft's first-party games. He also says, love the content, dudes. By the way, in-loop batteries beat all. I don't know what in-loop batteries are, but if you say so, my brother, I'm going to look into that. Yeah, let me get your opinion on this, because obviously, look, here's the thing. We know that sound design is as important when you're talking about the design of a game than you would be for graphics. For everything that goes into making a game. If you have poor sound, you're not going to be able to tell the amazing story that you want. So to know that not only, and this is thanks to Ninja Theory coming forward and crushing the ridiculous rumors started by, of course, you know who they are, of the PlayStation community that just wants to. Xbox can do no right, and I got to be honest with you. If you're part of that crew, man, damn, aren't you bored yet? Aren't you bored out of your mind with the nonsense? Because I know that I am. But
part of that on everybody's front, Boom. Like whether they're wearing green, red, or blue. If you're doing that, get out of here with that. You're wasting your time and your breath. It's energy wasted. There's people like that on every angle of that discussion. What an exhausting and
it is. Oh my God, it absolutely is. It really is. You know, listen, listen. I'm not even going to bring it up. There was a developer who worked for PlayStation, and I tweeted about it a little while ago. He had talked to a couple of developers, and they confirmed that the Xbox Series X compared to the PlayStation 5 is leaps and bounds more powerful. And he put it out on Twitter, and he said that, and I saw it right before the show went live. I actually should look on my phone. He said that he woke up to an abundance of hate on his Twitter timeline simply because he said what he said. And I got to be honest with you. I commented on it, and I'll say it live on the air. Look, folks, it's a plastic box. Okay? PlayStation players, guess what? You had a great run at number one, and right now you're still there. Now, whether you're there to start of the next generation, if you're not, don't blame us. Don't blame the gamers. Blame Sony for failing you, and tell them. Don't attack people because they have a different opinion than yours. Guys, this is real life. We got something real life going on right now that's killing people around the world. Take your internet hate, put it in your back pocket, and once we kind of get the world back together, then revisit it. But at that point, you got to ask yourself, am I really having fun doing this? And the answer is probably no. So just chill out, enjoy what you enjoy, and don't be an asshole. Let me just say that. It's the only curse I want to say today. But I want to go back to, of course, Zemi Games. Zemi, for you personally, when you hear about the particulars when it comes to Project Acoustics and what it's going to mean for games and gamers moving forward regarding the Xbox Series X, are you excited to see where sound brings you in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, 100%. I mean, like whenever we judge games, like we usually judge them off like the gameplay and the graphics and, the story and all that different stuff, right? But, in my opinion, I think sound is just as important as graphics, right? Because, I mean, at least for a lot of games, not for every game, but I think for a lot of games it is. And it's like, the very first time that I actually realized how important sound was in video games, I remember, it was 13-year-old Zimmy sitting in his bedroom playing Call of Duty 4. And I'd heard for a long time, about these headsets and how wearing the headset just completely changes the game. And I popped one on and all of a sudden I was able to hear footsteps above me and behind me and next to me and all this different stuff. And I was in it. And it just made such a huge difference to my gameplay, being able to spot out people, hear where they're at and stuff like that. But also to immersion. And I mean, Boom, me, I love single player games. And
yeah, I know you do.
One of the biggest aspects I love is the immersion, to be, taken out of my chair and put into that amazing world where, I'm the Dova King, or I'm, just some, guy who came out of a vault trying to figure out, how the world, went to complete crap. You know what I mean?
Nice name drop. I nice Fallout name drop, sir.
Yeah. I mean, whatever it may be. Right. And so to add in, what they're talking about, it sounds like to me, it's going to make those foot sounds above you be more accurate, right? If there's a guy, upstairs in the next room, you're going to specifically know where he's at, not just know that he's upstairs and somewhere to the left, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I think that that's really, really exciting. and I really can't wait to experience that, like specifically in Cyberpunk 2077. I think that is going to be one of the games that is going to really, impress me with the sound quality. And yeah, I mean, it's a game changer. Sound is definitely a game changer. I remember back in the day me playing Battlefield Bad Company, the very first one. I was out in the desert and just in the middle of the fighting, and I've never felt more like a Navy SEAL in all my life than being on that battlefield, fighting, shooting my gun, all these loud explosions going through my ears. I mean it's just so immersive to have that type of audio coming through your headset, and it really is a game changer. Thinking, I mean, from that point that I was 13 years old, I have not played a video game without a headset on my head. I just have not, because it's just such a big game changer. And I was excited to hear what Sony was doing with their audio, and I'm just as excited to hear how Microsoft is going to be doing theirs as well. So I think it's huge, and I'm super excited to see, not just to see, to experience it in the next generation.
Well, hopefully, Mark Cerny hasn't taken your ears, so you'll be able to hear what we're talking about instead of just watching what we're talking about. Look, I'm going to say this again: we can only say so much about sound, right? Because obviously, this is a topic that usually will come up in a minute way during a podcast. Like, oh yeah, they're doing this with the audio. Oh, okay, great, and we move on. I thought again, being that this is a bonus episode, I don't want to say I want to stretch, but I want the topics to be interesting and fun. And like Zemi was saying, and I talked to Zemi prior to going live. I was like, what do you think about this? And he's like, oh no, I do like it because no one is really talking about it. So I was very happy about that. But I want to move on to the next particular topic, and this one is pretty interesting in my opinion, because as you can see by the picture on the screen, there's been a lot of hoopla regarding the 1 terabyte Seagate drive, and I kind of want to talk about that for a second. Let me just get to the banner so I can bring this up. And where are you? Okay, here we go. Now we're professional. Okay, so obviously since the Xbox Series X official reveal, many people in the community have been asking about the proprietary storage with the 1 terabyte portable memory cards from Seagate. And thanks to The Verge, where I pulled this article from, Seagate, it has been confirmed that Seagate will in fact be the exclusive provider of the expansion cards at launch this fall. The cards simply slide into the rear of the console and are used as a quick way to extend the built-in 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. Microsoft is using the PCI Express 4.0 connections for both the internal NVMe SSD and the external SSDs, meaning that the speeds are designed for the next generation games. Now, I've heard a lot of people, and I'm not going to say who it is because it's unnecessary to do that are kind of bent out of shape about this design. And the fact that that your current HD portable ones that we currently use on the Xbox One X or your S are going to be that you can plug them in, but you can't run games off of it. Look, folks, the way I figure it is like this: as we continue to move forward with technology, the old shit isn't going to work anymore. I mean, that's the bottom line. You got to move on. And I am okay with them using the NVMe SSD, and I have zero problem moving my games around. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm going to tell you how I play. I'm playing 2 games now, and it's annoying me because I usually lock down on a game, I destroy it, I probably play it again to sew up the achievements, and then I move on. Right now, I'm playing Doom and I'm playing Ori, and it bothers me because Ori, is very skill based. Obviously, you could just be a Neanderthal in Doom and kind of just hold your hand on the trigger and kill everything that moves. Where Ori is, there's a lot of finesse in there, and to go back from one another. And I'm playing by the way, I'm playing the Division 2, which depressed me. So I stopped playing it because of the world current situation. I'm like, you know what? I don't want the world to turn in this, and I don't want to play this right now. So maybe it's a mental thing. I don't know. but I kind of put the Division 2, and I love the Division. I just don't want to live the Division, if you know what I mean.
It was getting me too, so I switched to State of Decay 2.
Even worse. All right, well, listen.
You know.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say, Luke?
I didn't mean for it to happen, but here I am.
I mean, listen, it is what it is. But you know what? What this means for games is that they're all going to be optimized for the Xbox Series X, and you're going to need these SSD. You're going to need the speed of the SSD, and of course the expansion cards to run them the way that they're meant to be run. And honestly, for me, I'm perfectly fine with the expansion. And I think that it's safe to say that as technology continues to advance, and I said this before, I expect the old HDD drives to just basically become obsolete. And again, I'm perfectly okay. It says here, Pixelbit G drops another $5 super chat. And yes, I'm actually was getting to this, but I'll read his because he actually got to the point quicker than I was able to. It says, boom, you can run all of your old games on the old USB HDDs. It's a good compromise, so they are still useful. You can only store the new games and not on the old ones and not run it. Yeah, and that's actually a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, you can run the unoptimized games that will not take advantage of what they're going to be adding to with the power of the Series X off of your old HDD drives, and that's fine. That's fine, but look, it is what it is. I mean, I'm excited because I want to see what Microsoft is how they're going to use the SSDs, especially the Express 4.0, to their advantage. And these cards are fast, and they're going to be running games to the best of their ability. And I think that we are, as gamers, going to be very excited to see these games running the way that they meant them to run with the speed. Because obviously, like my brother, Neo Mental, actually swapped out the old the old HD drive from his Xbox One X for an SSD drive, and it is. He tells me that it's so leaps and bounds better and faster, and that's on the old hardware. That it's almost a night and day difference. So I cannot wait to see what they bring to the table. But the article continues to say, you can continue the use of your USB 3.1 external hard drives, and this is exactly what Pixelbit was just talking about. And it's going to run your Xbox One, your Xbox 360 and OG Xbox games directly from the external USB HD drive. And this was explained by a Microsoft spokesperson, explaining, because there was a lot of confusion as to what you're going to do with these drives. So obviously, if you're looking to extend your storage on the X, you're gonna want to expend the bucks. Now, again, this is where we get into the weeds a little bit, right? A lot of people, many people in the community, are concerned about price. All right, the Express 4.0 portable cards, they're super expensive. But because Microsoft has made a deal with Seagate, and they are the official sponsor of this particular card for the Xbox Series X, I have a good feeling that Microsoft isn't going to, club the consumer. I mean, you're going to be spending $500, and I don't like saying 5 to 6 because I really honestly believe that the Xbox Series X is going to be $499. I believe that in my heart. I know Microsoft believes it. I think that's what it's going to be, and I'm going to kind of stake my flag in the sand with that. These drives, again, I'm going to say the price of what I think they're going to be. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to come up here and say it. I think they're going to be $80. I think they're going to be $79.99 at launch. I think that Microsoft doing an exclusive deal with Seagate and the amount they're going to order would, of course, is going to lower the price. But, Zemi, let me get to you first, Zemi.
Yep.
Obviously, the SSD is what's I think most gamers will admit that this is one of the so-called quote-unquote game changers, not just for the Xbox, but for the PlayStation as well. And we know that the PlayStation is touting a faster SSD, which it sounds amazing with their and Luke will get into that in a second, because Luke was talking pre-game about how he's excited to see what they do with it. But this SSD that Microsoft is putting into this new console is no slouch. But the question at hand is, the 1 terabyte, they have to keep it at one terabyte because, they want to make the system affordable.
Sure.
Are you bent out of shape at the way that they're using memory cards like you did back in your old PlayStation 1 days? Or or do you have a problem with it?
I love it, man. I love the look of these expandable hard drives. I mean, like, they just, like you said, they look like memory cards, and it just has like this little retro feel to it. I actually kind of love it. It's kind of adorable, like just like the little card you just shove into the back of the system.
Well, I mean, if you look at the brand, like right now, you think, oh my God, look how big it is. But look, I'm going to bring up the picture of him holding it in his hand.
It's
small. It's tiny.
I mean, it's literally a memory card, right, from back in the PS2 days.
Yes.
And I love it. And I think Seagate is the excellent brand to go with. The only two brands of hard drives that I buy is Western Digital, because they're usually pretty cheap, and then Seagate. I love those two brands. I think Seagate is an excellent pick, and I think them shooting to one sole like manufacturer at least at first. I think that is a good idea. But in like the last 10 years, like hard drive space has been like really, really very important to me, right? And at first I was a little upset by seeing the 1 terabyte drive. I really kind of wanted it to be like a 2 terabyte.
At least a 2, yeah, I agree.
These games are just getting so massive. But I mean, with now how much we know that these SSDs cost, I'm okay with it being a 1 terabyte, right? I'm pretty happy with that. But and how Xbox is treating, their I guess like the compatibility of other hard drives. I actually really, really like that. I like how this external that I have right now, I'll be able to use with my next gen Xbox. And I think that's important for two different reasons. I mean, obviously, so we're not, mucking up our SSD with all of our, last generation games, but also, just to hold all of our games on, until we can possibly dish out that $80-$100 that this new SSD is going to cost, or, just to kind of tide us over until these expandable SSDs come down in price. And you kind of mentioned how you're not going to be able to play new next gen games on a regular external drive that we're all using today, and I am so excited for that. I'm so happy that they're not going to allow people to play like Halo Infinite on those older drives, because the loadings, because we're all going to have to wait for those loading screens. All the people that would be using those older hard drives, it would just be a pain, for us sitting there for possibly 30 seconds. We're already sitting ready to play in the lobby, but we're having to wait because other people are using older hardware. So I think that that's an amazing decision. One of the biggest things whenever I heard about this was I was kind of worried about the price of the hard drives as well. And I definitely think that they're going to drop down in price as, obviously like this technology is usable on PCs. But, as the new motherboards come out and people started, adopting, these new SSDs, obviously the price is going to drop. But that is definitely one worry that I have is, is it going to be $80? Is it going to be $100? I mean, it's, it's a lot of money to pay out for, an additional, hard drive space. I mean, it really is. But ultimately, I love the design of the SSD. I love how Seagate is the sole, manufacturer making it. And one of the things that really has me the most excited is, whenever these new generations come out, like, regardless of the generation, whether it be, PS2 to PS3, whatever it may be, right? We've always compared the graphics, right, to like the success and to us wanting to buy one of these new consoles, from it being 8-bit to 16-bit to 3D to, whatever it is now with like super high definition graphics, right? But, you know, we've never really compared hard drives like this. And I think it's going to be a huge wake up call whenever we bring that console home, we load up our game, and we have a 1 second or, you know, less
4
than
seconds, even the worst case scenario.
Yeah, whatever it may be, loading speed. I think that that's going to impress a lot of people. And I think that that's going to be one of like the things that we see a lot of people talking about on Twitter. Maybe not. I mean, obviously, they're going to talk about the graphics. The graphics are going to look incredible. But I think the load speeds is going to really shock a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, perfect example. We saw, and this is one of the things that I really, really liked about the presentation that Microsoft did. When you saw Austin Evans, he really, when he was going in and out of the games, when they were showing the quick resume, yeah. I mean, it was snappy. 2-3 seconds, especially something. And I'll get to Luke in a second because he's been playing State of Decay. That game, as great as it is, and I put over 50 hours into it. Really, I have not played the new Juggernaut edition. I want to get back into it. The loadings are an abomination. There's no doubt about it. And how quick the game loaded, especially in the quick resume, says a lot about what we're going to be getting with these SSD drives, especially because they're the 4.0 Express. I like I said, a lot of people in the chat, you know, a good friend of the show, who's bailed me out numerous times. Dreadpool says that currently you can pick up one of those drives for $150 right now. And I would imagine, I know that some people in the chat were like, no way, boom, nothing shorter than $150. I got a feeling it's going to be under $100. I mean, remember, we'll come back to this conversation. You know, bookmark this in on your smartphone, and we'll revisit this when we get the official price. $79.99 is what I'm calling, $80. But of course, I've been wrong a dozen times before, and I'll probably be wrong a dozen times more. Luke, I want to kind of bring you into the conversation. Obviously, again, this is one of those instances where, you know, we take for granted the controllers, right? We take for granted where the sound comes from. Here's another example of something that most gamers don't talk about, which is what I really wanted this show to be, is, you know, talk about the sound, talk about the memory cards, talk about the controller. No one's talking about it. Let's have some fun. For you personally, are you excited to see what they do with these solid state drives in both consoles? But more importantly, are you upset, or are you willing to accept the fact that, you know, to expand the 1 terabyte, you might have to spend an additional $80 or $100?
I love the idea of the memory card idea. I really do appreciate what it's going for there, and I like that Seagate is the partner. I think that's a great thing. I do disagree with you on it being below 100. It looks to me, based on what I've read as well, that it'll be between 100 and 150 if they're able to work something out there, because we know that Microsoft is willing to eat costs on hardware to get people into their ecosystem and make it back on the software and subscription end. So I'm cool with that. I don't mind that at all. I was not upset, but I was surprised to see it's a 1 terabyte on the system proper. That surprises me, just given how quickly, you know, my 1X fills up with games that are in 4K and enhanced for X, how much more memory that takes up. But I was initially like, it feels like a bad idea to my amateur mind. Sony doing what they did, having their own internal memory to be similar, even a bit less due to their operating system. Mm-hmm. I didn't put me at ease, but I guess maybe it did put me at ease. I was like, oh, okay. Well, they're not the only ones doing that. And perhaps that's a cost saving measure given all the other things there. But expandable storage is a great solution to that. I wonder if the expandable storage and then the batteries being AA instead of internal, those are methods of keeping costs down. I wonder if maybe they're passing that on to those who are willing to or need to spend the service, because in an age of xCloud, guys, we may not need to worry as much about internal storage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say that, though, recognizing that, and boom, I've probably been blowing up your DMs, and I apologize. We're seeing multiple services, video and now gaming, throttling and slowing down their download speeds amidst the C virus to reduce internet strain. So I wonder if there's a factor in that as well. So there's a lot of layered topics that come from this. But as far as the unit itself, it is friggin' adorable. It does remind me of memory cards. I think that's really cool. I mean, look at it. It's
it's just so cute. Look at it.
It is. And you know darn well, people that show up on your show, Boom, people like us, people like many in the chat, we're probably going to buy it regardless.
I'm buying it day one, dude.
Yeah.
That's not even a question.
I'll sell a kidney, whatever it is. I'm gonna get this thing because I want it, and you know, it's good stuff. I like that. I like the end all be all, boys. I like that we have the option.
Yeah, the options are key.
But options are important. So there you go.
Well, look, let me just say this. First of all, we hit the 90-minute mark. We're at 95 minutes. This show, we got to all the topics, which I thought was awesome. And I'm happy to not only have these two fine gentlemen here in the on my panel, but of course we had 130 people in the chat, which is great. Before we get on out of here, I just want to thank the chat for being here. I also want to thank the generosity that continues to be bestowed upon myself and Double Barrel Gaming. I do truly and gratefully appreciate how you guys continue to help the show grow with the super chat, but also of course the way that many of you in the chat promote this on social media. Trust me when I tell you, this is it helps because some people may not have heard of the Xbox Factor podcast or even Double Barrel Gaming for that matter. And because of the countless retweets and favorites and, hey, watch this guy, he's breaking his rear. You'd be surprised how far that goes. So, of course, I want to thank you guys and gals for that. And, of course, let's get into, our amazing panel. Luke, I'll start with you. Now, Luke, I talked about this earlier on. I love what you bring to the table. I love that you have a different way of different branding, a different way of using your podcasting and going the way of using podcasting services as opposed to YouTube. So obviously, I like I said earlier, I do want to push some traffic towards you because I think what you do is smart. I think that it's new, it's fresh. And more importantly than anything, it's honest. It's honest talk from a gamer who enjoys Xbox. And I love that you have a tremendous amount of passion behind that. So do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, where they can find your outstanding podcast.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that because it is tough to grow a show. And because I host it solo,
yes, that's tough.
Yeah, it can be very tough, and I really appreciate the chance to come on here and talk about it. It's called the Xbox Expansion Pass, and it is born of my love for gaming and my current preference for Xbox as my preferred platform. And I talk and discuss about all the game-relevant news to the Xbox ecosystem. And so it would mean the world to me if you guys would in the YouTube chat, be willing to open your podcast service of choice and search the Xbox Expansion Pass and give it a download and see if it's for you. And if it is, stick around. I host a number of guests on the show. Most recently, I had Rebecca Valentine from GamedIndustry.biz to talk about the evolving role of a games journalist right now in the industry and what that means to be a games journalist specifically. I've had Steven Spawn on from Able Gamers to talk about the Xbox Adaptive Controller and what it means to have accessibility. I'm going to be talking to Gamers Outreach. They get video games into hospitals, which is all the more important right now. We started talking pre-C virus, and now it looks like that conversation is going to be all the more impactful. And I've got a number of others, plenty of ID at Xbox developers have come on the show, but it's called the Xbox Expansion Pass. And in these times right now where I'm home all day, it would mean the world if even a few of you guys from the YouTube chat be willing to check it out and see if it's for you and then share it accordingly. That's what I'd love to plug. And you can follow me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost if you're so inclined.
Yeah, well, that's great. You know what? If you have the ability, drop that link in the chat.
Absolutely.
Drop that into the chat so we can get, again, we can get some traffic over towards your outstanding podcast because I've heard many of it. Love what you do. Love that you're passionate about the Xbox brand. But more importantly, I think it's the honesty in your voice and the way that you break it down that is something that I gravitated to and why I had to get you on the show. So thanks for being here. Super appreciate that. And of course, let's hope that we can blow your podcast up and get some more views on that. And Zemi Games, you don't need an introduction because obviously you are the brave heart of this panel. But of course, we're going to talk about you anyway, dude. Having you part of this show is important to me. I think that you were one of the missing cogs to make this a great show, and I think it has become that. I love that you come on and you're passionate and you're expressive on your love for the Xbox brand, but you're honest also, very much like Luke, and you yourself have been more active on social media. So of course I'm going to say I'm proud of you, like the old man that I am. But also you have an incredible YouTube channel and it continues to grow, and I think you are crossed 15,000 subs, which is unbelievable. So let's get some more towards you that way, and let's get the people. Where can people follow you on social media, potentially interact with you, and also check out your outstanding YouTube channel?
Well, Boom, thank you so much. I appreciate all those kind words, man. And I cannot wait until next week's or this Thursday's.
Yeah, we got some good ones planned. Good ones planned.
Yeah,
for that.
I mean, you just mentioned some of them, or you told me about some of them, and I'm really excited now. But yeah, so if you guys want to, definitely check me out on YouTube. It is Zemi Games. I do gaming news, reviews, all sorts of stuff, unboxing or not. Well, I want to do more unboxings, but I do a lot of Let's Plays and stuff like that, just all sorts of gaming content. So definitely check me out there. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zemi Games. My DMs are always open. I always look forward to talking to any of the community members out there who, maybe want to talk about something I said on the show, whether you agree, disagree, whatever. I always love talking to community members. So feel free to follow me on Twitter, send me a DM, whatever you want to do. And yep, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Boom.
Oh, great to have you on. And real quick, I got to shout out a particular. There are a lot of great people in this chat, but one I have to shout out after what he did on the Iron Lords podcast. Smitty Smith, good friend of the show, The Book of X. It was hilarious, thought-provoking, and some of the funniest back and forths I've ever seen with you and Chris Hart. I got to give you props, my brother. That was dope. I'm glad that you had a chance to come over here. Of course, I will thank everyone once again for being here. And we were, like I said, we're going to be back here on Thursday. I got a big show planned. And I got to tell you, folks, I think a lot of people are going to be happy because I'm going to be talking about some VR and whether or not I think Microsoft has made a mistake in not having it. My answer is going to probably surprise you, considering I'm a big fan. So listen, anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to wish everybody health. I want to wish everybody love. I want to wish everybody safety. And we will see you this Thursday on the newest and hottest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. We'll see you. Take care. Be safe. And we'll talk soon.